Jim's JP crosses, Pasacana crosses.
Just going live on Facebook.
These are big, thick plants. So the plant that they came from was never this thick. That's that age. So this plant, you can see if you look over there, that plant's been there for 30, since we started,
Welcome, Tash.
30 odd years. Whereas this plant's only been here for 2006, 2000, somewhere there.
Yep.
It was just planted out of the baby.
So what's this one? This is a Tishekii.
This is a Mama Pasa.
Okay. Yep.
All these are Mama Pasa crosses. So if you look around here, all those tall plants came from one seed pod.
Wow.
So you can see the cross back with, over here you can see it cross back to a normal Trichocereus. So that's, and here's where you can see the really stark difference between a plant. So they had what they call Trichocereus validus, which it doesn't probably grow as thick as this early. This plant will end up being thick like most of those ones at the back. It's just starting to bulge out, and that's the Pasacana trait coming through as it gets older. It's thickening up and getting thicker and thicker.
So how tall would that be? About 3 meters, 4 meters, 3.5?
3 meters. But if you over here, if you come over here, you'll see a cross. This was probably a Psychonaut cross here, because I only had 3 or 4, maybe half a dozen different Trichocereus when I collected this seed, and that's out of the same seed pod as JPs over there. These are JPs. So this one here is a bit slower growing. It hasn't flowered yet, so it's got the trait of the big Pasacanas or Tishekii. It's got the same traits, taken a long time to flower. That one over there flowered 3 or 4 years ago, the first flowers.
The JP33.
Yep. Whereas this one, JP32, still has not flowered. So I'm really hoping this year, but you can see the long spines on this. It's got huge long spines.
Oh, give Dad the mic, having trouble hearing him. I'll stand closer.
Did somebody miss what I was saying?
Yeah, that's all right. We'll go into the next one, but that's good feedback. Thanks, Stephen. I'll stay closer to him.
This one that's fallen over here is from the same batch. Jim's Freak over here, which flowered. The reason that they were freaks is they're Echinopsis crosses, and both of these plants here flowered when they were around about 4 inches, 100 mil high. They flowered and had a huge flower. That's when I realised I had been selling a few, so somebody around Victoria's probably got a few freak plants. But this one and the one there, they flowered when they were only around about 4 inches high. This one here, that's just, you can see the root system over here on this. We've had a really wet winter, and a lot of the Pasacanas and Tishekii and Trichocereus, I think they really like cold, wet winters, and I've never seen them grow like they have this year, because this is probably the wettest, consistent, like raining right through from probably April, May. It's consistently rained right through and kept the soil wet. And it hasn't been anywhere near as cold, so they've been growing and growing, and they've taken on so much water and grown so much that the weight has just, you can see down here where it's just snapped, one of the roots, large roots, just snapped it with the weight during a windstorm and just snapped it clean off.
Oh, Curtis Laidlaw. Haven't seen you in forever. Hope you're well, mate.
You can see here, this one, there's so much weight it just snapped the branches out. So all it does is it just, where they're really filled up with water, the weight just pushes outwards, and then just all of a sudden it'll just give. And down it goes. Jim's freak, and you can see all the buds coming on this. These are all the buds coming. Very hard to get any seed set on this, but it's a wonderful, wonderful plant because it's so very different to anything else. So it looks more like an Echinopsis in the colour of the skin and the spine shapes, but bigger and thicker.
So
what it fell over and we've just left it there. It's leaning down now. So
what makes it do that?
this is what they call a dichotomous head split. So sometimes they'll turn into a crest, but other times they'll just go back to having two heads. So this one's definitely gone back to two heads. This one here still might crest.
Interesting.
You see here's another big plant, over 2 meters high, and it's just the weight has just toppled it to one side. So instead of worrying about, oh yeah, you know, we've got to do something, we'll just let it lie on the ground. It'll gradually, all the shoots on the top side here will go towards the sky and it'll never fall over again.
Wow. Hey, Diane, thanks for the donation. And Tash, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. If anybody has any questions while we're walking around, it's rare that we get Jim on a live feed, so feel free to drop questions in and I'll ask him as we're walking around.
Only takes one beer, guys.
Don't tell them that, they'll all be here.
This is another Pasacana cross where you can see this has a huge white flower, and this is one we'll be using for breeding because it has a really good flower and a nice strong spined stem. So if I can get colour, and this has sort of got quite a bit of pink in it from the Echinopsis cross. So if we can get a bit stronger, and one of the unusual things it does is that the spines at the top here, sometimes when they're growing like crazy, the wind actually curves the spines while they're really soft. And then they grow out and you've got a curved spine. Very unusual that. Over there, John, you can see some really hooked ones because the wind was hitting that at a different angle. And
That's interesting.
If you look right down in the bottom, you'll see that most of the ones down there, there's not much curve whatsoever because the wind's not hitting them the same.
Yeah, wow.
This is a very large cross, JP. It's very vigorous. This was planted out 2006. And you can see the size here of the actual flower and the thickness of the flower's stem, if you like. It's very hard, but it's about 3 times. So normally the flower would only be about this long and be opened out. This will open out quite a bit more. Well, this flower's actually flowered probably 2 nights ago. You can see here the rain's really quite affected it now and it's finished.
Yeah, right. So it won't flower again?
No.
Okay.
And this particular plant, it's really hard to set seed with this plant. Only certain things will cross with it probably. Whereas the plant over here, just over here, Jim's Monster, because this was so big early on compared to everything else, you can see if I stand right in front of it here somewhere, how thick it is. Oh, John's over there, I better stand here. You can see how thick that plant is. It's as thick as I am. You can see it's starting to send up a few pups now, which will slow it down. But the size of this plant at this stage, this will easily end up eventually, sometime in the future, over 1 metre thick at the base here. It'll be a huge plant. And you can see here when you look at the aerials, how thick and strong these spines are. And they've got the curve back, so I call these ones spider ones because they look a bit like spiders, some of them, with all their legs going out. And then another interesting thing is this new cereus hybrid that we've got growing here. So there's a lot of monstrose cereuses around, but this one actually has double aerials. And you can see here there's 4 aerials on the end of the spike. And if you look here, you got 1, 2, 3 aerials on the end of the rib. And down here we've got 1, 2, 3 in a different combination. So this is how they should be. It's like this here. That's normal. But you can see these ones are different. So this is quite a nice blue plant. And what it does show also is that sometimes you've got to wait a while to really see what a plant's going to do. So this plant is about 6 or 7 years old and was just growing in a tub and wasn't doing much, and I planted it out because it had a bit of a different look to it, and away it's gone. And the winter didn't treat it too kindly, but you know, this is what the cereuses will do, this thing where they get a bit too cold and a bit too wet for too long, and they'll get a bit of this black spotting on them, which is just an effect from the cold. They'll recover from that now with this new growth and grow right through the summer, and they'll look quite okay until next winter, when you'll get some of the tips will get marked again. You can't have the perfect position for everything.
Someone was asking about whether you can make tequila out of these, and maybe later on, if we get a chance, we'll go have a look at the agaves. You certainly can't make tequila out of the plants that we're looking at now. No. Tequila and mezcal is made from agave plants, which are from Mexico and North America, not from South America, which is the region we're in currently.
They do treat some of the Trichocereus are actually sold in the markets in South America as a vegetable.
Oh, okay.
You eat the green fresh. I suspect you wouldn't want to have a huge meal because you could have some sort of effect.
Hallucinogenic.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
You can see some white flowers on that white
Yep.
Lobivia hybrid over there. Now, normally that would be the first one to flower, but because of the winter, we've got a lot of others flowering this year.
So these yellows, these are Serentia?
These are Serentia cross Pasicanas.
Yeah, right. So you're saying there's genetics in this that is the same as that?
Yes.
Isn't that fascinating? That's going to grow to God knows how tall, and this will only ever get 2 meters tall max before it falls over.
Depends, if we put a few rocks in front of it, it won't.
Yeah.
So this is another plant that's an aurea. So you can see it's got, I don't know whether on the feed that you can actually see that this has a bit of a yellow glow to it. It gets quite an olive green down here, but up where it's growing, it's got quite a yellow look to it. So it's not actually a proper variegate in that it has green and yellow. It's a variegate in the sense that it has a yellow growth pattern to it, and then it turns back. When you look down the bottom, you can also see yellow and green spotting, but it may at some stage go proper variegate, but I doubt it. I think it's just a plant that'll grow like that. So I have a couple of seedlings from this from a couple of years ago, a seed I collected a couple of years ago. It's very hard to set seed on this, and it's only been flowering for 2 years. And the other thing odd about this, I guess, while we're looking at it, is the red spines. It's a very red spine plant. But this is one that's very close to JP16, Jim's Freak, and the one that we were looking at that was lying down. So this is the other plant. There's 3 of them that are very similar in whatever their cross was. And in the seed that I'm growing at the moment, we have a lot of plants that are going to be like these because they're there are another 2 crosses from here. So this one I've got seed crossed with this, which will make them F3s. And then we have some that'll be F4s.
So that's series 3 and series 4 of, that's the generations
That's
of
the
crosses.
generation of crosses from the wild. So Dawson's plants originally were collected from the wild back in the 1930s, I think it was.
Is this a Dawson over here, laying down?
That's a Dawson line. No, that's a Dawson seedling lying down.
Right.
Out here, we don't have any Dawsons. Yes, we do. There's the big one right up there with the multiple arms, the huge one you can see.
Yep.
That's a Dawson seedling.
Right. So
The
that's
one just to its left is a Dawson seedling that's quite a bit younger. And then that's a Dawson seedling there. So now people have named each of the plants over at Dawson's. Tom's no longer alive and his wife are no longer alive, but I think their nephew John runs the place now, and they've named all the plants, have been given different names. And these are seedlings from those, so they're F1s from Dawson's. So here we just call them Dawson's, and they each got a number, and then we breed from those. So the one lying down is a seedling from Big Blue, what they call Big Blue over there.
because it's a lot whiter than all the others.
Yeah, it's quite blue. It's a sky blue, I guess, sort of. If you look at down there, you can see how blue it is. So it's got the characteristics of Big Blue. It also weighed a ton when it went down. And once again, you can see over here how it just ripped all the roots. The weight was so much. It broke the stay and just all the roots snapped off. We will be able to recover this plant, and we'll have some huge
Cuttings.
cuttings to either go in pots or be sold, but you'll need a deep pocket,
Yeah.
very deep pocket.
Diane just said, visited last week, very impressive. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diane. Where was looking? There's a nice...
Yeah, these yellow flowers are gorgeous. And so you notice that their flowers are often more prolific to the north. Why is that?
Sun shines from the north here. If you were in the other side of the earth, or the equator, I should say, the other side of the equator, the flowers would be flowering on the opposite side. So they'll slowly rotate. If John comes down here, you can see that the ones that are getting the most sunlight here are actually growing. Now, I don't know what the scientific explanation for why these ones come out first, but you can see the buds are starting to go around the back, but they'll be maybe 3 weeks behind the ones that are here at the front.
Yeah,
and
right.
as the season goes, you'll get more flowers on the back side of the plant than what you do on the front. And the interesting thing about these crosses are that they seem to keep trying to shoot off the stem, the main stem, even later. Like your lobevias will not try to do what this is doing here.
With growing pups on the back.
Growing pups on the main stem going up and just keeping going up. So I suspect that if we were to put a huge pole here, for instance, that 10 or 20 years from now, this plant could be as tall as anything else here if you kept it strapped to the post.
But because of its genetics, it typically falls over.
The stem's not strong enough, so the stem will snap from the weight at some stage because it doesn't have a woody centre.
Yeah.
Shecky eyes, and well, you can see here this Volianus, like we were talking about the Volianuses before. You can see how much stronger this plant is. It's up quite high, and the outside stems have not fallen out too much yet. We had one that was way out there, which we cut off to get it out of the road. And the other thing is not much disease on it.
So Stephen asked if the soil mix was different. Would that make a difference to the plant not falling over? I don't think it would.
Only rocks.
Yeah.
You get the rain and you get the growth. because you've got the cooler climate. If you get the growth, then they're going to get too heavy and something's got to give. Particularly if you get a big windstorm on the wrong night.
Simone, can't wait to visit from Brisbane. Wow, that's a bit of a hike for you.
Start now.
Yeah. And then this one down here's just started to get these white flowers, and once again, that's more like an echinopsis flower, isn't it?
No, this is probably a gladiatus cross.
Okay, so is that gladiatus there?
That's another cross.
That's another cross.
These are Trichocereus. Over the Pasicana, these are a gladiatus in the genes. Hybridized.
And these ones here have become quite popular because of their flowers. So tell us a bit about this. It's not a tall growing plant. A lot of people are using it in landscaping now as a space filler, if you will, a very impressive space filler, but it doesn't get too tall and it's got a very impressive flower.
This plant here?
Yeah.
Well, this is a hybrid. It's called Fat Orange. It has quite an orange flower. So what they used to call Sorencia brucei, but now Echinopsis brucei, was quite a compact plant with small red flowers on it. Maybe that size, the flower would be only around that size. And these are slightly bigger, but it's quite an orange flower, which is quite a bit different. But the thing about it is that at this size even, you can see how fat the stems are on this.
Well, like the golden balls are super impressive for their colour and their roundness in shape. And I've often wondered, like, if there was another plant that maybe had that shape, would it be as popular, or do you think that it's the gold colour that makes golden balls?
It's the gold colour, no doubt, because it looks good all year round. But this is more suited to anywhere where you've got a colder climate and a bit more shade. This will do much better
than the golden ball.
Than the golden ball will.
Because it really loves the heat, doesn't it?
Yes, they need the heat to keep their colour and not to rot.
Someone's asked, which is the fastest growing cactus? Do you reckon it would be the Pasicana terscheckii, like the crosses, or do you think...
Some of you, Cereus, much faster. So it depends whether you're saying fast growing to large size or just fast growing from seedling to flowering.
Yeah, well, they're two definitions, you know. So if somebody wanted to make a big impact as a landscaping cactus...
Well, you can see over the back here, if you look at the Cereus that's up there, you can see the new growth that's just happening now that's warmed up. But that plant was about... you can see right near the bottom, and then there's another joint, there's a discoloration, and then there's another patch up. All the rest of that, so over maybe 2/3 of that height is grown through the winter, has grown through the winter.
So about a metre of growth.
Metre, and well, the top piece would be more than that, but yeah, most of it's around 800 growth through the winter. But mainly in the last... And you can see the growth in the last week there is probably 100 to 200.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So, you know, you won't get many things that'll beat a Cereus when you get the ideal temperature and the water and everything, and that's what it's about. Even over here on these monstrose, Cereus peruvianus monstrose, you can see all this new growth that's occurred during the winter on this plant. We took maybe 100 cuttings off this late in the summer, and you can't even see where they were now because we've had such a good winter and mild. So it suited the Cereuses with the mild winter, and they've really grown back very, very quickly.
I just noticed Brad Drysdale's tuned in and said, hey, how's it going?
Hi, Brad.
And Stephen Munoz Ramirez has asked what time it is. It's let me just check the time. It's almost 7 o'clock. It's 10 to 7.
Daylight saving just started.
Yeah,
yes,
true.
Yes, last night.
I'm just wondering now that Brad's tuned in whether we should show him in any of the new section and freak him out.
Oh no, I've got to have some food at some stage.
All right, that's fair.
But showing the coloured flowers.
Yeah, Brad, how long have you been tuned in for, mate? Did you notice some of the flowers that have started to come out?
Hey Bradley, flying saucer over this, mate.
Game on.
I've got the seedlings growing.
We've got Echeveria rose in. There's a few of the plant breeders are actually in the feed tonight, which is good to see. And yeah, like I said earlier, if anybody's got any questions, pop them in the comments. And it sounds like we're going to go get dinner soon, but if there's a bit of time before that, we'll answer any questions that come through. Jane O'Connor's coming over from New Zealand as soon as we can. Brad's just dropped in, so yeah, he missed a bit of stuff, but I'll post this up as a video later, so you feel free to flick through and have a look at what we've been talking about. And yeah, it's been an interesting week in terms of rain. So we've had a lot of rain, which you can't really see. I mean, a lot of the questions we get these days, Dad, are around plants rotting, around soil types. Like you can see there's rot here.
You can see rot here, guys. The best way to do anything about this is you take a pair of tongs and you cut it off.
Just cut the pup off.
Cut it off, throw it away, burn it.
So just get rid of it. So this one here that's dichotomized is obviously something that, as a breeder, you would want to keep.
This plant dichotomizes readily. This is a monstrose plant, so you can see up here. This is just for those who are breeders like Bradley, JP24 Bradley. So this plant has a large open, more like the white flowers behind us there. All the white flowers over there, I should say. But yeah, quite a large open flower for a Tashekii or Pasacana cross, whatever you want to call them. Quite a short spine plant. And it actually has the monstrose trait. So you can see, where are we? Where's a good example where we can see ribs dropped? Here we go, here. So you can see here, we've lost a rib. You keep going up, it does its little weird stuff, and then it goes up there and you can see some pups up there that are just weird, hanging over to one side.
Stephen is tuning in from Colombia.
Hello, Stephen from Colombia.
It's 2:50 a.m.
You can see here where the ribs are going, and here we've dropped all these ribs, and then it's starting to reform again there now. So this is a plant that a lot of people like to add to their Trichocereus collection, for instance, because it is the genetics in this are way ahead of where a lot of people are today.
Brad's got some seed growing already.
Yes,
and
of this, I think,
yep,
hasn't he?
Yep.
Yes.
And India 1330, Pimp PPK is asking no aphids. So I'm assuming that's a question. Do we get aphid problems here?
Are they saying aphids on the cactus?
Yeah.
No, this is not an aphid problem.
Okay, great.
This is breeding. This is a monstrose plant. You can see the one that's quite closely related to it back here. It does.
Brad's saying hit it with the flying saucer.
Done.
Done. So this is JP22 now.
Yeah, and you can see there's a little bit of monstrose in this, but generally speaking, this plant stays quite straight.
Yeah.
It will occasionally drop a rib and just bring the rib back. But it's not like JP24. So this is JP22, which I think Brad also has a cross of.
So it is 6:50 p.m. here, so almost dinner time for those overseas. And Jane Neely, thank you so much for the donation. We really appreciate it. Thanks for tuning in.
And this is a large clump of
San Pedro.
San Pedro.
But it's actually got a bit of blue colour to it. Is that?
When this was in flower, guys, this was one of my largest hits on the YouTube.
Facebook, I think. It had like
Facebook.
6 million?
6 million.
Something
last
like
time I
that.
looked something.
Dad's still the king of Facebook. He likes to rub it in every now and then.
But in here you can see this rib in here, which grew here for years and I didn't know was variegated, was growing here for all those years. I don't know whether you can see it on the...
Yeah, you can. It's actually picking it up better than
You can see
real
the
life.
colour,
Yeah.
but it's not a really standout
piece.
But some of the shoots that we've taken pieces off the side of this and we've cut those and regrown them, getting pups off them, and some of those pups are throwing really good variegation. So it's interesting that it was here for all those years when nobody knew what a variegate was.
Yeah. Well, I remember in our early days, variegation wasn't even a part of the conversation.
Never a part of the conversation.
And now it's, variegates, monstrose, cresting. That's the whole conversation in the plant breeding world. Like, can you get a coloured flower? Can you get crests? Can you get freaks and mutants? Like, that's what the whole collector game is about now. Like, rarity.
In this year's seeds, guys, we've got all sorts of things that will blow people's minds.
Oh, yeah,
We've got head crests, we've got coloured crosses that are crossed with the Tosheki eyes. So they're going to grow as Tosheki eyes, but hopefully we'll get some coloured flowers. So this is another big one that went down. So this is another Dawson. And you can see by the fatness in those pups there that this one split the stem in the ground, split it clean in half.
Yeah, Pimp PPK said it rains a lot in Thailand and they have a lot more aphids because of that.
Yes,
and Stephen,
warmer conditions.
Yeah, and Stephen Dare said, when's the seed list coming out? And Stephen also, there's another Stephen from Colombia who said, I think he's saying he loves the garden flowers.
Yes, flowers.
Do you sell pieces? Yes, we do sell some cuttings, depending on what it is.
This is, for those, Bradley, this is Werribee. So this is the one that I've crossed some of these. So this particular Tosheki eye that John got from Werribee, it crosses quite readily with quite a few different things. So we've got some interesting, and it does have a little bit of variegation, just light variegation occasionally in it, which is, I'm finding a lot of the Tosheki eye crosses have slight variegation, even in this particular plant here, which is JP34.
Oh yeah, look at that.
Oh, you found it, yes.
Striking.
And around on the stems occasionally there's more of it.
Yeah.
I was looking somewhere.
Tash, yes, cafe's currently open. We're open Wednesday to Sunday from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. Yeah, wow. So, yeah, if you catch anyone doing this, can you please let us know? Because we'd like to stop the graffiti. There's another variegate piece there.
Yes, you just look around and you can see. Yes, people who graffiti plants, it's not cool.
Well, it's destroying the plants.
And it could rot the plant.
Yeah. And we had one person last year that we know of that was stealing seed as well. So if the community could help us find people who are stealing seed and just get them to stop, that'd be great too. Check out the pink on this.
Show everybody American Beauty.
This is American Beauty.
That's a hybrid. Came out of an old collection the original collection that makes up a lot of the mature plants in the garden. He imported seed from America, and in the collection when I was planting them out, this plant was just labelled American Beauty. So no one knew what the cauliflower, it had never flowered, and I just put it out in the garden and it started growing. So it actually can grow the size of some of those Sorencias that are out the back that we were looking at earlier. Here it's just on the edge of the thing, and you can see it fell out of the pot. It's anchored into the ground. It's been growing there now for a long time.
And what's the history of Binny? Because it's got a gorgeous flower. It's one of the most prolific flowers.
Binny, if we go down to where Binny is.
Do you ever fertilise anything in your garden?
Yes, we do, to try and, as you grow the plants in the garden for more and more years, because cacti roots stay in the top 100, 200 mil mostly of the soil and extract their moisture mainly from there, you need to replenish that soil to keep. And here we have to use Roundup because it's such a large garden. We could never weed by hand. And so you kill the soil with the Roundup, so you have to put the bugs to sleep with the Roundup.
Mm.
So then you've got to add back carbon and seaweed and as much chook manure, pellets, whatever. You put it back, and that's what we've been doing now for about since 2012, 2014, 2015, 2016 we started. So 5 years, and the plants this year are the best they've looked in all that time.
I agree.
They've really come back really well. And
there's like a lot more colour in the plants.
Yes, and we're getting rid of a lot more of the disease as the plants get stronger again.
So that's health of soil.
Yes. So this is Binny, and Binny was a little tiny seedling. And you know, we were talking about the variegation a moment ago. When you do crosses, here's another little bit of variegation that's just happening on the plant that I would never have normally looked at. And these days I see them
everywhere
in different plants. So Binny was a little tiny seedling that happened in a epiphyllum flower pot. And Dr. Werdeman was the name of the epiphyllum, and it had a very purple red flower. And when I look at this flower, every time I look at this, it just reminds me of that epiphyllum. And there's no other. So this plant goes back to when we first started.
So in 86, 88?
Around 89, 90.
Okay.
A seedling appeared in a pot, in the epiphyllum pot. And the thing now with having done a bit of breeding is that you can't make a colour if you don't have some colour background of that colour.
Right.
So the only way I had to get that colour was from the epiphyllum. So I think that this is a Labivia or a Sorencia that crossed with the epiphyllum. And I have actually crossed a few in a breeding program, which is only 1 year now, and we've got little tiny. It's very hard to keep them alive because they're not very strong seedlings, but we've got one or two that are growing. So it'll be very interesting to see how they turn out. But they're looking like Sorencia type seedlings. There's no show whatsoever of the epiphyllum in the seedlings.
And it's really interesting how pink.
And the seed, just so you know, the seed came from the epiphyllum, not from the Sorencia.
Right.
You would have thought that maybe they would throw epiphyllum characteristics of the plant, but no, they're the genes of this type of cactus, Sorencia, has actually stronger, and so the plant is coming like that.
That's insane. That's a really interesting thing about breeding, if you grow a seed from a plant that turns out to be nothing like the mother plant.
That's why when you see some crosses, J13 and J39 are two plants that I've got that readily cross with, obviously open pollinated, they cross with a lot of things because there's such a mixture of seedlings. Like normally a lot of the J's, they just open pollinated, they just throw trike looking seedlings, but J13 has crossed obviously with cereus and has crossed with Cerensias, Echinopsises, all sorts of things. So it'll be a while yet before we see the first of the probably 2 to 3 years, maybe. We'll see some flowers to see what on earth has happened. But we really do have some totally different looking plants altogether from the parent plant, from the mother plant.
And this is pretty interesting too. I'm presuming this is like a...
That's an Oreo cereus.
So Oreo cereus, and do you tell that by the spination coming through or the flower?
No, the hair and the flower. But this is Oreo cereus superbus. And they have these beautiful prickles. If you keep that up, you'll be prickled.
He's used to that.
Just beautiful golden spine.
Get out.
Is a characteristic of that particular Oreo cereus. And then the beautiful flowers. So this is the best flowering we've ever had on a stem of this.
I'm trying to think what the other one is. There's Oreo cereus, Espatoa. So it's not an Espatoa.
No, Espatoas don't have big, strong spines like these.
Right.
Or as much hair. They have very short hair and a different flower. Totally different flower.
Yep.
This is a day-night flowering, whereas Espatoas open up at night.
Yeah, right.
And are closed up during the day.
Okay, well, you live and learn.
As we go back, see if there's any open.
Okay.
Clystos are just starting.
Clysto. Never seen blooms in this.
Clysto candelaris down there.
Oh, yeah. Wow. Clysto candelaris. Trying to get it to focus. The pups are beautiful, yeah. Can't believe how many we've had tune in, Dad.
These are quite incredible, the yuccas.
Yeah, they're stunning.
Flowers are huge on this particular variety. I don't know which one it is, but it's prolific flower. Every year the blooms seem to get bigger.
I must say, I'm glad you said that, because this is the most I've noticed these flower this year.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah.
Like they're just huge flower. I mean, you can see that one over there. It's shot right out now. Oh, ouch.
Yeah, they'll get you.
You know, it's maybe 50 flower branches now, and they're still opening up at the end. They reckon these things are edible, but
Are they a bit nutty? That's what I've noticed in the past. Stunning, any fragrance. Maybe a slight.
later on when
Yeah,
they're quite bitter. Bitter makes you
Bitter.
go, "Ugh."
yeah. People are asking how big the property is now.
Same size it always has been.
Well, but you've expanded it out. There's probably...
Oh, the actual garden now would be 12 to 15 acres, I guess, with plants in it.
12 to 15 acres with plants.
And that's expanding more.
And what's the flower on this one? Because a lot of people comment on this flower.
well, it's not actually flowering yet, but this is
Yes, all cacti have a flower at some point. That's
this
how
is
they
not
propagate.
a cacti.
Oh, well, somebody just asked, do all cacti flower at some point in their lives?
Yes.
Yep.
Except if they're some of the mutant ones may never flower.
Right. Sterile.
I don't know why, but maybe they just haven't been old enough to flower.
Mm.
But some of the mutant ones that are cresty, monstrose plants don't flower, as far as I know.
Mm.
I'm not going to say that 100%, because like I say, they may not have got old enough as yet from being grown as a seedling to actually flower.
Port Macquarie, New South Wales. Hopefully can visit one day. Thanks, Anthony. Hopefully see you once lockdowns are over.
That is a bromeliad.
Oh, it's a bromeliad.
Bromeliad.
All right.
It's one of the large ones, not the largest.
Yep.
Because the giant one of South America, I can't think what it's called, but it has a stem that's, I don't know, maybe 60 feet or something high, and really huge flower on it.
That's massive.
But yeah, this won't come out and flower. John will do it one night when it's actually
Opens
flowering.
up. Mm.
It very nice coloured flower when it is flowering.
Yeah, it is a stunner.
Espatolas.
So what's that with the aroma now?
Well, what somebody's been burning off.
No, there's a sweet smell like a flower.
It's the trees. Oh, it could even be those trees there.
All right.
The rain on the
gum leaves.
gum leaves.
Yeah.
These probably aren't up
No,
too early in the year.
but these are espatola.
So they have the cephalum, which
There you go. There's a flower.
Yeah, there you go. Cephalum, which grows up the side.
Yep.
Where's the flower?
Just up the top there.
Oh, it's not open yet.
No.
So it's not quite opening time.
Oh, righto.
Where'd the rabbit?
Prickles is running, chasing something.
Rabbit. It just took off.
Oh, there's fruit over here. Did you get this seed pod? Did you know that was there? Did you see this seed pod?
Ground, two on the ground.
Oh, great.
And one behind you,
Beautiful.
and one over here.
May as well grow them. Alrighty. Let's go get some dinner. What do you reckon?
Be a good thing to do.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and for those who donated to us tonight, we really appreciate it. You definitely don't need to. We don't expect anyone following or watching to do that.
For a beer, it'll be okay.
Dad's after some beer money, obviously. No, we really appreciate everybody tuning in tonight and asking questions and following along. And yeah, we'll hopefully do another one of these.
Well, over the next month when there's
Yeah.
flowers, we'll do some daytime ones.
There's lots happening at the moment. We've been renovating and
Have you
decorating.
Showed my new bar, John?
No, come and show them the new bar. We'll head to the bar next. Look at that. I remember us having to stand that back up when I was a kid.
Yeah. It's probably our tallest one.
Do you reckon? Of those?
Yeah. Well, maybe all round.
Do you reckon?
Pretty tall.
It's massive, but I would have thought some of those big cereus were bigger.
The big cereus might be just bigger.
And so these Oreos, they've got some pretty nice flowers out at the moment too.
Yeah.
You head to the bar, I'll show them the flower and I'll come around. Thanks, Dad. Yeah, it's nice of him to give us some time tonight. But I'll show you what he's been working on. He never stops. So this all got cemented a couple of weeks ago. It's starting to come together. And then this is where most people enter the garden when they come in. And then this is what Dad's been working on Monday, Tuesday. We finished painting this area in here.
And this is the best place at the end of the day.
Yep, sure is.
Or tequila. Or a cocktail.
Alrighty, well, thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you all again soon.